Well, these are the disc brake swap that we're going to do on a 72 Dodge B200 van. I got this set up off of a 77 at the junkyard, $100. And the primary thing you need is your 2 spindles, your caliper adapters, and your 2 dust shields. And you might even need these, which is kind of like a traditionally you'd call it a ball joint, but it doesn't have the ball joint in it, so it's like a tie rod connection for your spindle. And I'm not positive if these are different from the drum brake, but they came with it, so we're going to keep them and we'll find out. Everything went pretty good. We managed to get the calipers off. They were stuck on there. Had to kind of chisel them out. But once they got loose and we was able to get the rotors off, it was pretty good. But then I noticed we had a little problem, and it's kind of a problem that sucks. Here's our spindle here, and it's good shape on a race surface here for the bearings. Nothing sets here, but we got the bearing back here, and then we got a bearing that's set there. It's in good shape. Problem is with this one right here, something happened here. It's all galled up, and it even kind of gets up here into this race. It's good down here. The threads are fine. So the worst of this part is right here. Now our bearing fits over top of that normal. There's no excess play in it. There's no catching. So it's debatable whether we should use this or not. We was actually talking to Mopar Nut about it. He thinks we should probably get a new one, because you know, if this thing is a weak point now because of what happened there, and if that happens to break off, then you lose your wheel. That's not a good situation to have. So we want to avoid that if possible. But it's just aggravating that we got all the parts here, but one of the parts that is a reusable non-wear part is worn. So that's what we're at with this. So we're on hold right now. Hopefully I will get into cleaning some of these up and cleaning up our good one back here at the spindle, like all this area back here, make it look nice, and we'll see about those as well. Same thing with these. This is on hold though, so we're gonna figure that out, and then we'll go forward with our disc brake swap, our 72.
Race your car at Indianapolis Raceway Park Saturday, August 22nd during the first annual Ford Indy Challenge. Ford challenges all during this fun day for everyone.
You don't have to have a race car to compete, and you'll have 3 or 4 practice runs before races begin.
It isn't just the speed, but the consistency of your run. So come on out and join us.
During the day, you can also enjoy a custom car show, an auto parts swap meet, and much more. The Performance Ford Club of America presents Ford Indy Challenge, Saturday, August 22nd at Indianapolis Raceway Park.
All right, so some of our stuff came in finally. So I guess we could open it up, see how it all looks. Hey, look, magnet. Brake pads. And they come with the clips, the bolts, and some rubber bands there. So that'll take care of the pads. So there's those guys. They got the little bit of a taper on the hub. That's what the other ones were. So, looks like brake hose. Yep. Look right. Got the rectangular block, slash on it. Looks like the other one. Got the taper. Yep. Oh, and these come with hardware too. So we have extra hardware. And what I mean is clips. So we'll see which ones look like they would be better used. Use those and put the other ones in our storage bin in the back. So there are rebuilt Chryslers. Looks like the other ones pretty much. So got the little angle here. Same thing, opposite side. Yeah. On the other one, this cut goes the other way. It's machined opposite. So, but everything else is actually pretty symmetrical. There's that one. So yeah, they'll all go in the van. I'll get my seals, and I think the bearings should show up anytime. So all kinds of new parts waiting for paint assembly. just another step closer to being on the road again. For the first time in at least 15 years. Okay, so we're into the next day of festivities here at the Hoosier Garage. We don't have the heat in here yet. It's a little frustrating, but and the reason that is because I was wanting to do a lot of painting. Not that you could do painting near one of these heaters very much, but you could create an outdraft system where you keep it warm in the environment you shoot it in and then blow the fumes outward so that they don't get into the heater, okay? You want to be safety first on that. But at least you'd have everything warm. All the material that you're shooting, including the paint itself, would be like room temperature, warm. Where you're not seeing my breath. So we're kind of plugging through this stuff right now. The good spindle, I went ahead and cleaned it up, wire wheeled it, masked off the skiing on it, or the axle portion, and painted it black. I took it inside so that it will acclimate to the temperature. I let it outgas a little bit and then took it in so it doesn't, stink up the house. I've got the tie rod connections here, which typically you look at them as a ball joint. I cleaned those up, they're ready to shoot, and then I'll probably do the same thing. Another thing I got going here is the dust shields. And I've kind of determined that these dust shields are garbage as far as a finished product, but they will do now. They will actually work. They just have a lot of areas that have rotted. So what I'm gonna do, they're not hard to get to. It's just a matter of taking the rotor off and the caliper. So down the road, I'll probably put a nice repair on. So I'll keep my eye out for these. I'll take some pictures of them, and then I'll have a reference. And I'm just gonna shoot some like a silver or gray paint on the side that you would see if you looked underneath it. So that would be this side right here, not this one. So I'm gonna clean them up best I could. They're pretty crusty. What else? The calipers, we're gonna do them in Hemi orange, and I'll probably redo the drums in Hemi orange. Probably what I'll do, since the passenger side is the workable side with the good spindle, I might roll this van back since we've got most of our work for the heater done. I'm gonna roll it back and get it away from that garage door, and then prop that end up, and then get the wheel off, and then we can start taking off the drum assembly on that side. All right, so these are the caliper. The service manual calls them adapter brackets, and this is what mounts to your spindle, and it ultimately holds your caliper. So it's what the sliding caliper situation is all about. I dipped these in muriatic acid because they was really crusty and crispy. And if you're not familiar with my channel or muriatic acid, don't be an idiot, okay? One, if you are in an enclosed space and you're using muriatic, make sure that you use a face mask. If you're working directly over it, use a face mask, okay? Don't splash it around and then get it in your eye. If you're gonna do that, wear something over your eyes, like some goggles or something like that, okay? Secondly, you have to be smart with how you get neutralize it, how you get it all cleaned up. And that's baking soda and water. And the ratio to the water should be, fairly heavy. There's no percentage I'm gonna give you. Just get a nice slurry going and then get some nice warm water. And I doused these really good. I submerged it. And where you have places like these little bolt holes, make sure you get those cleaned out really good. Okay, you don't want the acid to live up inside there. Then you go to put your bolt in it, and it starts eating the bolt, because it will eat the bolt. Okay, long term, it'll break it down. So it's still cold, and it's getting colder out here. And I went ahead and actually took a torch and put some heat on this. It actually is warm to the touch. And one, I burned off a lot of the moisture that was left, for instance, in those holes. And it'll give us a nice warm surface. Okay, just simple as that. Do not use the torch at the same time you're using the spray can. Don't be an idiot. I shouldn't have to tell you this. This one here, I'm gonna go ahead and torch it now because you see it's all dark. That's where the moisture is sitting on it. And when I confirmed, then we're going to paint these yellow. Okay, so we're gonna have yellow holders, adapters. The calipers themselves will be orange. it will match the theme of the van, trust me. It's a little different. I've never done two-tone on that. That's the way it's going to be. And of course the wheel's going to be red, so we'll have this red, orange, yellow, and black spindle and black theme going on through some of this stuff. So stay tuned for that. All right, so that loop came loose, but I had to get the bigger hammer. You know, if all else fails, get a bigger hammer. That's what happened there. We'll probably get a new ball joint. It's pretty, usually they're a lot tighter than that. Well used, so. Okay, so we have removal of the drum brake assembly. One thing that occurred to me when I broke this stud loose from the assembly was, unlike the disc brake caliper or disc brake spindle, you couldn't just lift it out of there due to the shape of the backing plate here. It would hit here when I went to pull it up. Actually, the control arm under here would hold it on, so I actually had to remove the kind of the tie rod brace back here. And then I was able to lift it off, which that's what this is. And I was going to compare this just for a reference. Yeah, so if we do a comparison side by side here, top to bottom, the bolt patterns are the same. Other than the dirt here that builds it up. It looks like it is the same part. So if you're specific on the van, and this is always going to change on each disc brake swap, if you're not building one of these, there's always going to be a difference, okay, in something. And in this case, it's primarily the spindle and everything that bolts to the spindle. So this one here, you have these two bolts up here, which do not exist on the disc brake caliper. You actually have kind of two of these over to one side, and that's what your caliper bolts to. This is technically the same as this. So it's kind of crazy that you need a whole different spindle just because they didn't add that, but that's just the way it is. So, you know, this part beyond is the drum. We should be good. I don't think the control arm at the top needs to be swapped out like so many car swaps, because it already has a large bolt pattern, or a large bolt, large stud, so to speak. It's getting late in the day, so So with some of that, I need to clean up my little mess there, brake fluid. It's got all over the place. And maybe start cleaning up the arm and seeing if we can get some upper and lower ball joints. The bottom one seems like it's the loosest. And I'll have to decide on the bushings that anchor it, you know, the swivel bushings, and see what we got there. I like to go as minimum as I can right now, but if it's really obvious, then yes, go ahead and change it. And so I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on, I've got some parts here that are in paint mode still, since they are such light colors. Caliper brackets, and then the calipers themselves. Since they are such light colors, they take quite a bit to coat. So I just dust on little coats at a time. I'm not trying to cover all of it. I'll just hit the corners and work my way out. And hopefully we'll get a nice solid overall color on all this stuff. Just for the fact of the matter. So that's part of the agenda. We have the spindle cleaned up and painted black, at least the one on this side. We still have to decide what to do on the other side. Probably, we do need to get another one, but we might even run that spindle temporarily until we do. Then we can easily swap it out. I say easily, but you know how it is. All right, so upon inspection, I realized that the lower control arm, the ball joint that screws into it, or so we thought, is actually a pressed-in fit. So that arm had to come off, so we might as well change the bushing. Again, the old domino effect. This up here, I think I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave as it is. I might clean it up and paint it black, and get a new ball joint for up here. So we'll have to get our socket out, screw this thing out. This is more like what the cars have, the four-sided grab on it where you can pull it out that way. So you can see we're pretty much naked under here. We just have the tie rod extension, and then over here, there's the actual arm. Here's the spring. Here's all our hardware for it, and then the strut rod. We had to disconnect that one too. The shock that was in there, I actually had to cut the top of it off. I went to screw it off, and it kept boogering up the end there, so I had to get out the grinder, cutting wheel, and just slice the nut in half, break it. So it all fell out then.
Is back to heat up your street with Pontiac's front-wheel drive Hot Ones. Sunbird, sticker price to bring you in from the cold. Grand Am, this one sizzles with excitement. Pontiac 6000 gets you where you're going, tells them you've arrived. Get Pontiac's front-wheel drive pulling for you at your Central Indiana Pontiac dealers.
So this one, ball joint lower stud, was an absolute pain to crack. I actually had to put this on. I know it's not the safest thing, but I had it around here. And of course, you gotta not, get in a situation where you slip off. I just put this big dude on here, and I pushed, and that bar was bowed. I made sure my glasses were on. And I got it from about here to here on the bend before it snapped a little bit, but it's still, I think it's just a lot of corrosion there or something. Goodness. I almost got this side ripped down though. Ordered 2 of those, 2 lowers, 2 uppers, ball joints, and a set of strut rod bushings each side. It was actually not a bad price. At Rock Auto, it was about, before the shipping, it was like $65. So not bad. They got probably the best prices. I didn't used to get on Rock Auto much. It seemed very, I don't know, there's something weird about it early on to me personally. But I've grown to actually really appreciate it. They do get you on shipping a little bit though. But even after the fact that you pay the shipping, the prices you seem to normally pay for ball joints and all that sort of stuff would have went way above that if I just went to the parts store locally. I gotta bust this loose. Let's see, that joint, that ball joint is no good. Let's try this. Let's be adventurous. Let's be adventurous. No bueno. Sometimes that works because it just does, but I think there's just not enough tension on it. Gee. Make sure I'm not driving it into something else. Take the big Hoosier hitter here. Of course, I mushroomed the top, so congratulations to me. Yeah, you didn't see me do that because I'll just edit it out. I tried taking this loose earlier. It's still a little tight. It's brake line. You can't. I know it's over there in the dark. You can't really see it well. But I'm gonna give it a try again. Put some heat, some penetrating oil on it, some heat, some penetrating oil, heat, penetrating oil. Blah 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 blah. Get that loose. Take this whole arm out, and well, yeah, shock absorber. Let me spray some juice up there on that one. There we go. Well, I'm trying to advance through all this, but we're having a big fun time with this control arm, the bushing bolt, you know, the one that it all pivots off of. It came off about 6 or 7 threads. A lot of really tough 6 or 7 threads. I mean, just like, I put some heat to it. I put some more blaster on it. And I even pulled out the impact wrench and turned it all the way up on the air, all the way up on the tool. And it hammered and hammered away and barely moved it. Barely moved it. So we're going back to the breaker bar situation. And I went and bought these last night. I bought a deep well 15/16, and it's 15/16 on both ends. What else did I do? Oh, I bought another breaker bar. I only had this 3/8 drive. Well, this is 1/2 inch drive. And I could not quite work this the other way with the bar on this side, because you have like a hole in the K-frame here that allows you to access that. And kind of the same thing here, just a little bit of an angle. And I tried it on this side onto the short regular socket, but there's just not enough leverage on the ratchet to leverage it. I have it tied up here. I actually have wire on it to hold it into place. It's on an extension to go in there. And I'm going to try and crack it from this side with an actual bar and see if I can get a little bit of leeway with it. But it's always aggravating, this kind of stuff. And it's probably, yep, socket jumped right off there. So I don't know what to do. That's what I don't like about suspension work. You gotta get this old stuff that is like frozen, practically welded together. And even with the impact, it seems like these guys on these shows, you know, these real polished up TV shows that do this, they never have this problem, or else they never show you. Or they got like $1 million tools that are provided to them by, Snap-on. Can't get it loose. I guess they're just gonna have to send the whole thing to the junkyard. Just give up right here. Gosh. Here we go. Finally. Oh, it's nice and loose. That's good. Like I said, there was a little gap. Come on. Use a tough cookie.
Luck is always in the air.
Come on. All right. Everything down here is technically loose. I got to get the bolt out. I mean, it's undone. It's gonna get out. I'd like to get this off. It's just hanging here. It's just the old brake line, rubber brake line, so it don't matter. But I'm gonna try to do it the right way first and get it unscrewed off of here. I've had it soaking for about 2 hours now, and I put a little heat to it. That's what we got. I might have to replace this metal line. It's got some pitting in it. I don't know how bad it is, but that's one reason I'm considering it. Don't really want to, but it looks like it's possibly comparable. There we go. Now I gotta get the clip out. I don't even care. So that's out. Now, to get the bolt that's back in there, that'll work. Cling, there it is. And then the push rod gets stuck in there, so you have to try to work that out. Or you can maybe put the jack under it. Okay, so I jacked that up a little bit, just got under the arm. Be careful with it. And I'll try to pull the now loose push rod. There it is. Now, I should be able to let this down and it'll disengage from the frame. Like so. And I've already got the strut rod back here. The big deal there with has the pin in it. I believe it should, yeah. There's our spring, set it here. Right side up. And then, there we go. So now we're out. All right, so we got everything back over here together. And we'll deal each side as is. But in the meantime, until we do, I'd like to get all of our stuff together here. Like the big washer and the nut. Just whatever doesn't come with the kit, we'll have to reuse, obviously. Our big aggravating bolt here and nut. So it came out. Slip it back in the way that it came out so that you'll know the orientation, what side the nut's on. It doesn't necessarily matter, I don't think, but it's just good practice. And we got our bolts for the shocks. We'll leave them here. These are for the backing plates. I noticed these for the backing plates on the brakes are the same as is on the spindle for the disc brakes. So these are interchangeable. And so we'll just put them over here with the other stuff. Should have put this one back on from last night. But what I'll probably do, since they're off, I had to do them anyways, being that they have a press fit on these lower ball joints. I thought we'll go ahead and get the bushings for both sides, and then the strut rods for both sides. The springs are good, there ain't no big deal there. And whatever else, so these are rubber body bumpers here. I think they bolt in. Probably. We'll figure that out. We'll take all that part out. We'll take the strut rod off. There's a couple bolts in here. And we'll clean these up. We'll paint, probably everything here will be black, like a gloss epoxy black. And then we'll return it back to the van. It'll look all nice and new, look good. Yeah, so I think that's where we'll stop on this go around. We'll keep it as short as we can. The next installment, hopefully we'll have our parts in. We'll be able to get this other stuff refinished, and we can clean up the area that all this mounts to, the visual part, and get something on there. Either be the red if you want to really get down to it, or we can just do a nice, like a chassis black along that frame rail. And on the control arms, the upper, I'm going to try to leave those on. And I'm going to take a look at the brake lines, make sure they're good. If they're not, I'll replace at least that one if there is a problem. And it looks like there might be, so I'll inspect that. But yeah, come back next time and we'll be on the next step of this. So doing our disc brake swap on the front. There's always more to it than you think, and that's what we're taking care of. So thanks for coming to the Hoosier Garage.
Indiana's original